Oh, it's me, Shannondale Stott Davis. That's absolutely correct. And I am so glad to be here on Improv On and Off the Topic. And I am the creator, director of Improv On and Off the Stage. And every month we have a new topic that we are discussing. The topic of the year is community. The topic of the month is collaboration. And we are talking about these topics because I'm an improviser, and it is important to me that you know how improv can actually help you live your life. Really, what we are talking about is connecting to self and others through improv. That smell is the smell of, one, not burning empanadas, and two, because I remembered to turn the stove off, and two, it is the smell of Emily Arnold coming up to help me discuss these topics, because Emily is a board certified, licensed, board certified behavioral analyst, and we like to talk about the science behind the improv. Emily Arnold.
Hello, I smell like empanadas.
But
it's like I went to Austin for a week, come back, I can't get the empanada and taco smell off.
It smells delicious, doesn't it?
So delicious, so yummy.
Oh, that's a good taco.
All the Virginians have been smelling me for the past week, so.
And they're jelly. They're so jealous. There's not a good taco in Austin. No, in Virginia.
No, we don't have good tacos in Richmond.
That's not what Richmond is known for. Good tacos.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I've been longing for them since I've left. Anyway, hi, happy Monday.
Happy Monday, happy Monday. And we're tacoing about. Was that a reach? It was a stretch.
A little bit. It's that kind of day. Huh? That kind of day. It's a fun. Happy Monday, Pun Day.
Tacoing about. Improv, yes, but really connection, yes, and collaboration.
So that's our theme this month, is collaboration.
And excited. Last week we were talking a little bit about collaboration in the environment, how we can set up our environments, the outside environment, on stage and off, whether that's like scene painting or setting up the environment before a show or so that collaboration feels natural. And then we also talked about doing the same thing like at our job, at our work. How do we set up the environment so when people come into our boardrooms or our meetings or whatever, even our happy hours, how that environment can be more welcoming for collaboration, setting that stage. And then today we're we are talking about collaboration within. So we talked about external collaboration, and now we're doing this thing where we're talking about collaboration within. And there's this thing. I swear to goodness, it's going to be your turn.
It's time. You take your time.
Okay. There is this thing that you and I talk about if you've been watching our shows, right? And I know you have because you send in comments and whatnot. If you've been watching our shows, Emily, you say this phrase, getting closer to what's important to us. The idea of trying to get to what's important, doing things with awareness and making choices so that what is important to us can blossom. And I want to talk about that a little more and tease that out before we actually talk about collaboration. Can we do that?
It's a weird phrase, right? It's a weird phrase that I think most times when people think about like self-care or self-improvement, they're like, I want to be happy and I want to be successful. And I want this. But those things, there are some problems with like that kind of phrasing, right? First of all, when we say like, I want to be happy, if we think about something like that, the reality of life and humanity is that no one can be 100% happy 100% of the time, right? Sometimes we have to do things that make us a little bit unhappy and uncomfortable and aren't super fun for reasons, right? Like even if I would be happy to like have tea and lay in bed with my cats all day, but then I wouldn't be able to do anything for the world if I'm just laying in bed, right? Which is important to me. So when I talk about these things, I don't talk about like what makes you happy. Um, reason I tend to not really say like successful is because success, I think, in our society has a very specific connotation, and success isn't the same for everybody. And so that's why I like to use the phrase, what is important to you? Because that can mean a lot of different things and it's individual. And because it's something that's important to you, it's probably something that you're going to fight a little bit harder for, do things that are a little bit uncomfortable, and put yourself out there and work for things that are important to you. I went to a talk once about this is what we would call values in the acceptance and commitment training world. I went to a talk once that was talking about values, and it was with Jonathan Tarbox, who is brilliant if you ever want to look up his stuff. And he was talking about values, and he likened it to a scene in The Simpsons, which is my favorite show of all time, where the nuclear power plant had put up this sign in front of Homer's office that was like, don't try to run, you'll be here forever, or something like that. And it's like the episode's all about his family and all about when their baby is born. And at the end of the episode, he covers up a bunch of the letters on that board with pictures of his family and makes the letters say, do it for her. It's like pictures of his baby. And so that, I think, is a good representation of what I mean when I say the things that are important to you. Like we're going to work and we're going through these slogs and all these things that might not be easy for us, for her or for this person that you love, or because it's important to you to be creative, because it's important to you to help other people or spread science or all of those things.
Right.
So that is what I mean.
No, it's important. So there are two things that I want just to like highlight that you said. One is putting yourself through, what would you call it? Challenging yourself when things are important to you. And the challenge that the work that it takes to challenge yourself when things are important to you may not make you happy, right?
Yeah.
The thing like that, it's a challenge. So maybe while you're working, you're not very happy, but the thing is you're doing that work because whatever it is that your goal is important to you. So I think that is what we're talking about when we are talking about anything on this show and what we're doing as far as practicing on the improv stage. Why are we on the stage? To practice what is important to you, to practice becoming the person who is important to you, right? And then the other thing is just minor that I want us to say is, you said ACT therapy, acceptance and
commitment. Yeah.
Commitment therapy, right? That's that T.
Yeah, and technically because I'm a licensed behavior analyst and not a licensed therapist, I say acceptance and commitment training. That T can pull a couple of different things. But so some people will say therapy, some people will say training. I technically try to cover my like legal basis.
That's good. I mean, we're going to say training. We're going to say it, right? So the acceptance and commitment training. If you look that up, if you're watching and you're looking that up, a lot of what we're talking about comes from that. We are using improv to get you connected to self and others. Yes. And then we also are folding in this acceptance and commitment training idea. So, okay. So I wanted to talk about that phrasing because we use it a lot on this show, and I wanted to talk about it, tease it out. This idea that what is important to you, blah, 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 because it is important to you, blah, 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 to support what is important to you. That is what we come back to.
Yeah.
So now that we've talked about why that's important to just keep in mind, because as far as the things that we practice on the improv stage, we're not trying to make you happy or make you successful. We're trying to help you discover what is important to you and then chart a path towards that. So now we can get into discovering and talking about a little bit the collaboration between you and yourself, right? So we talked last week about how to collaborate within the environment, how to make the environment a space to collaborate. And now we're talking like the internal environment and how to make that a space to collaborate.
Yeah, because we've talked about, I'm not sure if we've talked about it on this show. I know we talked about it in the live show, that when we define environment, behaviorally as a behavior analyst, environment doesn't necessarily mean like the sky is pretty outside, but it means like the stimuli that can affect you. And even going back to like, old school behaviorism with like B.F. Skinner even said that like the environment does not stop at your skin. So your environment does include the feelings and goings on inside of your body, right? And so what we talk about when we're talking about setting up and reacting to like our environment, collaborating with our environment within our own body and our actions, could mean things like if my thoughts are like, you know what, I want to help my spouse carry these 12 super heavy bags of mulch out into the garden, but my internal environment, which has joint instability problems and doesn't always, my body doesn't always function the way that a 34-year-old should, is like, maybe that's a little too much weight for you today. And so it's like when we're talking about collaborating with ourselves, it's the things that we maybe want to try to do and versus the things that our body are saying, or in conjunction with the things that our body are saying, or the internal states that we're having, and how do we reconcile those things is what we were talking about.
Yeah, there's like a lot there, because on the improv stage, you're making choices all the time. You're responding. Like last month was our topic, that was response. You're in this moment where you're constantly responding. And people think, especially newer improvisers or people who have a thought or a vision of improv, they think that what we're doing is always making it, always responsive, always making it up on the spot. Anything that's available to us, we're just grabbing it out of the air and shooting it out of our mouths. And in this scenario,
Yep.
That's what they think. That's what they think. You know this.
Yeah, the people that are like, I can't do that because I can't be fast. Like,
right. It's like, no. You can do it because you're already doing it. And in this scenario, in this thought process where we are saying yes to our internal environment and collaborating with ourselves because we are trying to support what is important to us, when we make those choices in real time, whatever the choice is, the choice could be the character that you are choosing to be. It could be responding to your partner or the environment that you've set up on stage. It is okay to take a moment, right, to check in and to balance what it is that's important to you. Maybe that day it is important to you to be supportive of your teammates. And maybe someone calls out, hey, there's a monster. And okay, this is an opportunity for me to be supportive. Do I become a monster? Do I become a monster catcher? And we can take the time to make those choices, to collaborate with ourselves. And then one last thing in this sort of realm, what I'm hearing is, in the moment where your want is to be supportive of your partner, the partner calls for a monster, and you check in with your body, and your body's like, you blew out your voice yesterday singing karaoke, so maybe we're not like here to maybe that's not what we're doing. You can
Mhm.
adjust that in your mind. How can you help your partner in a different way that also says yes to your internal environment, and you're so that you're collaborating with self?
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's that's kind of where I think there is. I do want to back up a little bit and kind of redistinguish the what's important to you versus the like I want to do this action sort of thing. Because like you said, like what's important is supporting, which is kind of um, an umbrella term for a bunch of the actions that you do, right? So then if someone says, oh, there's a monster, and your immediate thought is, I want to stand up and be a loud monster, because that is in service of supporting your teammates. Um, but then follow this example even more. You say, I want to stand up and be this loud monster. And then you're like, oh no, I sang too much and my throat is sore. Then we have to part of collaboration we talked about last time is a little bit of compromise and kind of a give and a take, right? Of what is appropriate. So we're like, okay, right, it did blow out my voice. How else can it be a monster? Ooh, I know. I want to be like a wobbly blob monster. Uh, and in that little quick back and forth within your own body, you kind of come to like a compromise of what you can do that does follow in your value, but is something that you can actually do, so that you can support them even more appropriately than if you tried to come out with your hoarse voice and just say, you know,
Right.
actually do it. Mm-hmm.
I love that you said you can support them more appropriately, and like to just like peek into there a little bit. What I'm hearing you mean is that you can support them more appropriately to yourself. So both of you are winning, right? You are able to do the thing that you want, which is support your teammate or your improv duo, trio, trio, whatever it is. You are able to support them, and you are saying yes to yourself. You are collaborating with your own mind, mentally and physically.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love that. I love talking about, I love talking about all of this. But the thing is that on the improv stage, when we take improv classes, we do train to be quick on our feet, right? We do train to be quick on our feet, but it's not always in service of being quick to respond verbally, right? It's not always about that. When we train
Mm-hmm.
to be quick on our feet, we are training ourselves to be able to make those choices in the moment. Yes, yes, I hear you. I hear you. You want a monster. Yes, I want to be that monster. Yes, my voice is shot. How else can I be of service? And you can make those calculations very quickly. That too comes under thinking on your feet. And when we take this whole thing,
Mm-hmm.
so this is improv on and off the stage. We're talking about on the stage right now, but we're gonna transfer to off the stage. That's where
Uh-huh.
we're going. When we take those qualities, those things that we've learned on stage, we can also take them into our relationships, right? Relationships,
Yeah.
and whatever those family relationships, work relationships. But the thing is, when you are being asked to do something, and we can go right back to your personal life, right?
Uh-huh.
You like to do this. You bring it
Yeah.
up. So we go back right out to that, your personal life. Your thought process is, well, I want to be in service to my husband, or I want to help. I want to be whatever it is. This is
Mhm.
important to me.
Mhm. Because similarly to the example we just used, my when I think about my relationship, a core value in terms of my relationship is supporting my spouse. And so, yes. So in service of supporting my spouse, when I see him do a thing, I want to physically jump in and do the thing. Yes, go ahead.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. You want to physically jump in and do the thing, but your voice slash your body is unable to help them. So what are the other things that you can do? And you can make those choices quickly in the spot, on the spot, in the moment is what I was trying to get at.
And to be totally honest, the way that worked out today was literally him reminding me and having to be like, I really appreciate that you offered to help me, but I do not want to hurt you. You already did some exercises today. You already moved your body. Like, and me honoring his kindness, thanking him. Yeah.
Perfect. It's perfect because we can even take that back on stage, right? Because in that moment, what's happening is what? You're collaborating so that both of you can enjoy the relationship that you have made. That's a collaboration as well. And if we take that on stage, it's the same thing. If I was right there with you, if Em and I were like, hey, we're going to go karaoke, la, 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 it's going to be so great. And then we just karaoke our little voices out. And then you call for a monster and I come on there like, you have the opportunity to say like, hey, monster.
Wait, it's okay. You don't have to be so loud, monster. It's all right. It's chill. Yeah. Yeah, you can express yourself in other ways, monster.
Exactly. And then Shannon knows like that is not just a character choice or, something that's happening in the character, but that's in service of me. And so we're collaborating like, thank you, Emily, for reminding me that my voice is being blown out or was. And now we can collaborate and make this scene together in a way that serves both the character and the people, both monster and monster caller, right? And Emily and Shannon.
Yeah, absolutely. Because when we take care of our teammates, like when we take care of our teammates as people, that's also incredibly important. That's just as important as taking care of like the scene.
Yes. Yeah. I wonder, so can you take that mentality, that thought, when we take care of our scene partners as people, it's just as important as taking care of them, just as important as taking care of the scene. Can you dive in a little bit into how that works in the field for you? Like, how do you take care of, how do you express that when you're working with your clients? Taking care of the person is just as important as taking care of the environment, let's say.
Yeah, and taking care of like the job or like whatever it is. And I think that becomes actually really applicable to how I do my part of the job, which is staff training, right? Like I don't just go in and I don't just say like, okay, now you need to do burp, 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 right? Take the time, take the time to find out what is important to the staff that I'm working with, and how they operate too, right? Like if I'm working with someone who's who also maybe their joints aren't as great for different reasons, I'm not going to be like, okay, now get on the floor and play with this 4-year-old like you're like, let them get on your back and you be a horse. Like I'm not I'm not going to tell them that. Because I want to take care of them as a person. I want them to be able to follow, like it's important to me for them to find what's important to them in the job. And it's not just doing what I say, right? It's for most of what I'm doing, finding the things that are important to them are usually things like making sure their clients feel loved and making sure that their clients learn and grow. And so that's usually how I approach my training and say like, okay, so things that will help you make them feel loved or things that will help them to grow would be XYZ. And I apply that individually to different people. No set of feedback is the same from person to person. And in that way, I wind up taking care of the individual and not just, writing something out and doing my job.
Right. It's important to recognize that because the clients that you're often working with have a harder time taking care of themselves, then the caretaker needs to be able to do that in their own way. And
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
it feels like we're right on target, because they also have to be in a space where they can collaborate with themselves, right? What
And
are
be
they?
honest, because I think a lot of this also is being honest with ourselves and our own
Mhm.
abilities, right? Um, I see this a lot. I used to do in-home consulting with parents, right? And I see that a lot with parents who are like, I can definitely do this thing all day, 24 hours a day. And I'm like, listen, you are a human being and cannot do that thing. I know you want to. I know it's important to you, but let's figure out how you can still, protect your child or help your child learn these things or keep them safe or um, all of these things while still living within the confines of your own body as a human being and not a super person.
Yeah, not a
Yeah.
super person.
Mhm.
Okay. I love the not a super person thing. Reminds me of times that we've talked about flexibility,
Mhm.
right? So this idea, just reminding ourselves that in the karaoke thought process, in that example, that day I'm not going to be able to do karaoke. Like, I'm not going to be able to be a growly monster. But that doesn't mean that I can never be a growly monster. And
Right.
in
Yeah.
Right. And in this situation that you're talking about, like a parent being like, I can do this all day. I'm going to do puzzles. My child loves puzzles. I'm going to do them all day, 24 hours a day. Puzzles.
No,
I can
you
do
are not.
I'm going to do it.
No
And
one is
it's
going to be like, what's
right.
great.
And it's okay. Like, that's
Mhm.
okay. It's okay to be flexible, because the collaboration, even when we talk about work, even when we talk about being flexible in projects, the thing is that the project itself might change. Our eye is on how we finish a project or what the goal is. But in the steps up to it, people get sick, people get tired, people lose a puzzle piece, people, whatever, we're human. And if we can learn to be flexible and to realize that we are we are creating space in which collaboration can actually take place, instead of saying this is how collaboration works. And that's
Right.
how improv works, right? That's
Yeah.
like, honestly, that's how it works.
Yeah. At no point does anyone ever just say, this is it. These are the 5 rules of improv that are never broken ever.
No,
No.
no,
We
no, we
usually we
don't
can
do that.
feel like general skills for flexibility and how to work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is that we have a goal in mind. The goal is to create. The goal is to create a scene in which all of us are participating and all of us feel like they have given in some way. So that means we have to create space so that we can collaborate. And
Mhm.
even if your gift at that time is to do nothing, right? To sit out, that is also part of the collaboration process.
Right. Absolutely. Because you're giving space for someone else to do things or other people to do things, like especially if there are multiple people who are sitting with you, you know at the back of the stage, and you're like, I've been out a lot today, and you
Yes.
know what, I'm a hang back and let Freddie go up, right?
Yeah.
Because and that is a perfectly fine way to collaborate because you're giving space for another human being.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
This is great. Okay, friends. Yes, you see it. It says collaborate with us, become a member at Patreon. You can do it. You can collaborate with us. Tell us what you're thinking, how you're thinking it, what the topic of the month, what you think the topic of the month should be, so we can collaborate with you on that. Anything you want to leave them with, Emily Arnold?
I want to know, as people are watching this and commenting on this in their various platforms, I want to know how you've collaborated and kind of compromised with yourself lately. I mean, I told my story about the mulch, and we talked about how, you know, the parents who wanted to do puzzles 24/7. How did you compromise with yourself that was still in service of what was important to you? I want to know that.
Ooh, yes. Put it in the comments. Let us know anywhere. Just write us a letter. We want to know. We want to know these things. We want to know. Listen, friends and family, this is when we say goodbye. We hope to collaborate with you on and
Off the stage.
mwah,
Bye.
bye.